If your cat has ever walked away while you were crying, the reason they left might completely change how you see them. Now, imagine you are sitting on your living room floor. You are having a terrible day. The room is quiet, your breathing is heavy, your face is wet with tears, and you are sobbing quietly into your hands. Across the room, your cat is sitting on the sofa. Their ears twitch. Their tail gives a slow, indifferent flick. They look at you, blink slowly, and then they just walk out of the room. A part of you expected them to stay. Instead, you just feel more alone than before. But did your cat really leave because they did not care? Or did they notice far more than you realized and simply have no idea how to respond? For a very long time, humans have made a huge assumption about this exact moment. We look at our pets and we think, if you don't comfort me, you don't care about me. When you cry, many dogs will bring you a toy or lick your face because they often respond to distress by approaching, touching, licking, or offering a familiar object. So when a cat just stares at you and leaves, we naturally assume they are cold and selfish. But that judgment only makes sense if we expect a cat to respond like a human, or even like a dog. Humans are obsessed with stories and context. If you cry, you know it is because you lost your job, had a heartbreak, or read a devastating text message. Your cat does not know your story. We cannot know whether a cat understands sadness as an abstract human emotion, but cats can detect many of the changes that accompany it. They are extremely sensitive to changes in the people, sounds, movements, and routines around them. When you cry, your voice changes in pitch, rhythm, volume, and breathing pattern. Your facial expression changes. Your shoulders tighten. Your movements become less predictable. Your cat may even notice subtler changes in your breathing and scent. Your cat is likely registering several of these signals at once. Pause for a second. Let's use a human example to make this perfectly clear. Imagine you walk into a room where your two best friends are completely silent but glaring at each other. The air is thick. You can almost feel the tension on your skin. You don't know why they are fighting, but your stomach drops. You instantly know something is very wrong. Right now, your cat is you walking into that room. They may not understand the cause, but they can tell the normal baseline of the house is broken. So if they possess all this sensory data and they know something is wrong, why do they choose to walk away? This brings us to one of the most misunderstood behaviors in cats: the retreat. When you are sobbing heavily, you are projecting a combination of unfamiliar sounds, movements, and emotional tension. To a human, crying is a release of pain. But to a cat with sensitive hearing, loud sobbing may simply sound sudden, intense, and unpredictable. Imagine resting in a quiet room when the largest creature in the house suddenly begins making unfamiliar sounds, breathing irregularly, and moving in ways you cannot predict. You might not interpret that as sadness. You might interpret it as instability. Cats are skilled hunters, but they are also small animals whose survival depends on noticing danger early and avoiding unnecessary conflict. Their survival instinct is deeply tied to their environment being calm and predictable. A sudden emotional outburst can disrupt that sense of predictability. They detect that the biggest animal in their territory is behaving unusually. They don't leave because they are cold-hearted. They may leave because they are uncertain, overstimulated, or cautious. Their instinct tells them to find a high shelf or hide under the bed until the disturbance passes. Walking away may be their way of creating distance, observing from somewhere safer, and waiting for the environment to become predictable again. But that is only one possible explanation. A cat may also leave because it was already moving to another room, because it dislikes loud sounds, because it has a naturally cautious personality, or simply because it has never learned that approaching a distressed human leads to a safe interaction. The same behavior can have several causes, and not every cat responds in the same way. But what about the cats that stay? Sometimes a cat will walk over, sit a few feet away, and turn its back to you while you cry. Turning away does not necessarily mean rejection. In some contexts, a cat that rests nearby with its back exposed may be showing that it does not consider you an immediate threat. It may still feel secure enough to remain in the same space, even while monitoring what is happening. Other cats may approach and sniff you. Some may rub against your legs. Some may sit at a distance and stare. Others may leave and return once you become quieter. These reactions can depend on personality, previous experiences, socialization, the strength of the cat's attachment to you, and how intense your behavior appears in that moment. Then there is the purring, a behavior that people often interpret as comfort. You know that feeling, the warm, heavy weight on your chest, accompanied by a deep, rumbling vibration. Cat purrs occur across a range of low frequencies, and researchers have proposed several possible functions for them. But the popular claim that a cat is deliberately using its purr to heal you goes far beyond what the evidence can prove. Seeing this, you might think, aha, so my cat is acting like a tiny doctor trying to actively heal me. Hold on. Don't rush to that heartwarming conclusion just yet. The truth is less cinematic, but perhaps more interesting. Cats purr in several different emotional and physical states. They purr when they are happy, but also when they are severely stressed. When they purr next to a crying human, they are not consciously trying to be your therapist. They may be settling themselves, asking for contact, responding to your changed behavior, or repeating a familiar social routine that has brought comfort before. And because that familiar sound can also calm you, both of you may gradually become quieter in the same space. It's a comforting thought, your cat, quietly regulating itself beside you. Not because it understands every reason you are hurting, but because your behavior has changed and it has chosen not to leave. But this same sensitivity that lets them share their calm with you also has a much darker side. Because cats are so sensitive to environmental changes, your emotional state doesn't just affect their behavior. It may become one part of the wider environment affecting their stress level. There is a clinical condition called feline idiopathic cystitis, or FIC. FIC is a complex bladder disorder with no single known cause. But environmental stress is considered an important risk factor or trigger in some cats. Changes in routine, conflict with other animals, lack of stimulation, unpredictable handling, and an unstable home environment can all contribute to stress. You might notice them straining in the litter box or urinating just outside it, signs that should be taken seriously and evaluated by a veterinarian, especially if a cat repeatedly enters the litter box but produces little or no urine. This does not mean that feeling sad will make your cat sick. It does mean that cats can be affected by long-term changes in routine, noise, tension, activity, and predictability inside the home. If you are going through a difficult period, you do not need to feel guilty for having emotions around your cat. What helps is preserving as much stability as possible: regular meals, clean litter boxes, predictable play, quiet hiding spaces, and the option to move away when your cat feels overwhelmed. Your cat does not need a perfectly happy owner. It needs an environment where it can still feel safe and maintain some control. All of this leads us to a much deeper, more philosophical question. When we get angry at our cats for walking away while we cry, are we really mad at the cat? Or are we simply terrified by the feeling that we are unloved and unseen? In vulnerable moments, we naturally search for a response we can recognize. A touch, a look, someone moving closer instead of farther away. And when a cat fails to give us that response, it is easy to assume there is nothing happening inside them at all. Science cannot currently prove that cats experience pity or empathy in the same reflective way humans do. But it also cannot reduce every response to simple indifference. Cats can learn our routines, they can distinguish familiar people, they can form attachments, respond to changes in our behavior, and adjust their own behavior based on experience. They may not understand the story behind your sadness, but they can still recognize that you are not behaving like yourself. Maybe it is enough that when the whole world feels impossibly heavy, this tiny creature sometimes chooses to stay in the exact same room as you. They don't know the complex story of why you are hurting, they just know something in the room has changed. And sometimes, instead of running, they close their eyes, listen to your breathing, and rest beside you anyway. You don't need a human response from a cat to know that a bond exists. You just need to learn how to read their quiet, subtle language. And if your cat does walk away, do not assume it means you have been rejected. They may be protecting themselves from a situation they do not understand. They may be watching from the hallway. They may return when your breathing slows. Or they may simply be responding in the only way their nervous system knows how. So the next time your cat leaves while you are crying, remember, walking away does not automatically mean they feel nothing. It may simply mean that they noticed something was wrong, and being a cat, they responded in a language that was never designed for us. If this changed the way you see your cat, subscribe for more stories about the hidden science behind the animals living beside us.